on the Texas A&M Sports Network. From Learfield, welcome to the Coach Jimbo Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Also brought to you in part by Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer, is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. Celebrate responsibly. Rudys Country Store and Barbecue. Visit Rudys.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. Twisted Tea, hard iced tea for the 12th man. Please drink responsibly. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas, driving access to better health through it all. And by Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. Now, welcome to the Coach Jimbo Show. Here's the voice of the Aggies, Andrew Monaco.
Howdy, Aggs, and welcome to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. It is good to see everyone here at Rudys, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. And for the next hour, we're talking Texas A&M football and doing it with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher. Coming off the bye week, the Aggies will then face South Carolina. Big picture is the Aggies have 5 games left in this 2023 season, but the target is the Gamecocks on Saturday at Kyle Field. 11 a.m. is the kick. 10 o'clock with our St. Joseph Health pregame show. We are so glad that you are with us, listening on the Texas A&M Sports Network or the 12th Man mobile app or Learfield's Varsity Network app, or joining us behind the mic on the Texas A&M football Facebook page. Hey, check in. Send us a question. We'll share it with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher. When the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit, continues, we'll step aside. This is Aggie football from Learfield. The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show is brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, the largest agricultural lender in Texas. Capital Farm Credit, together, we're better. The Aggies in South Carolina on Saturday, 11 a.m. at Kyle Field, 10 o'clock with our pregame show, the St. Joseph Health pregame show. Aggies coming off the bye week. And we begin the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show by saying howdy to the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. Once again, yearly, I say this, bye week is not off week. Correct, Jimbo?
It's a grind week. It really is, especially on coach, because we'll go out at the beginning of the week recruiting, and then we'll come back and have 3 days of practice, which you're breaking down film, working on future opponents, and working on your fundamental things that you know you've got to get better at and where your tendencies are and all that stuff. And then Friday, you're back on the road again, back out recruiting and hitting the road to the high school games, and hopefully get back a little bit Saturday to be with your family, and you're right back in the office on Sunday rolling. So, yeah. But the kids, they get we practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, have Monday off, and they had Friday off, and then Saturday, so let their bodies heal up and get a little time to take a deep breath and make this stretch run, get these last 5 games and play really well and finish this season out the way we should.
Yeah, the time off, Jimbo, you always say when a season starts, this is the best you're going to feel.
Oh,
is this the second best that they will feel before the end of the season?
Maybe, depending on how the off week went. Yeah. But, how the practice went. But, no, it is. Those bumps, bruises, at least you can – get a few things healed up and you get a few more days off. And it's funny though, when they do it and they realize they get that free time, they're ready to jump right back in it.
Yeah, you have not. I've mentioned this before. There's rare at practice, Jimbo, that you have to tell this team to run something again, and it's rare that you have to tell them, hey, pick up the tempo. It's that message is. That's been accepted by this team.
They have. That's what I say. That's the, not the disappointing thing, but, we haven't executed some critical moments the last couple of games and some things. But listen, their work ethic, their demeanor, their buy-in, they're doing things right. And, sometimes that happens. You got to figure it out. But they're grinding on it to figure it out. And their attitude is good and their mindset is good. And like I say, you got to push through things. And you got to persevere. And I really believe we will. I've said I've liked this team, and I still do.
You said something Monday that I love that you learned from Coach Bowden. There's a difference between disappointment and frustration.
Yeah, you get frustration. People you don't get frustrated. When you get frustrated, you make dumb decisions. You don't think straight. When you're disappointed, but you're figuring it out. You make better decisions. You know what I'm saying? I always learn. Disappointment leads to better decisions. Frustration lives to doing things sometimes you regret, making dumb mistakes, or even coaching about how you go about something while you try to fix something. And when frustration comes out, there's no coaching going on. You know what I mean? You can still be – cause people say, well, you yell and you lose. No. Sometimes you got to yell to coach. Sometimes you got to speak softly to coach. Sometimes you got to speak – but when you're frustrated and those things come out, then there's usually nothing very productive coming from it. When it's coming from a position of – can be motivation, it can be disappointment, but how you're trying to get it fixed it's a lot better.
You also, there's so many times on that practice field, Jimbo, that it's a conversation with players who understand and say, I might be able to do this better. You're also receptive to their feedback of running the play.
Listen, you got to understand when you're coaching a player, like on the quarterback, when you set your plays, what do you like? Mm-hmm. I like this. You like these are the things we like together, okay? I like this. You like this. Can we work with this? Sometimes I used to have to tell them, quarterback, all right, you got to give me these 2 plays. We got to have this because this is where we got to have them. Or they would say, I like this a little better than that, and I could get the same thing out of it as a play caller. Well, yeah, let's do this. You know what I mean? Or because at the end of the day, it's them executing those things. And it's a collective effort. I mean, it's a dictatorship, but it's a limited dictatorship, okay? I mean, you have to put your authority, but you have to listen to them. And once they understand conceptually and have a great understanding of the game, once they learn the offense or the defense or, a kicker, special teams, schemes you're doing in return and things like that, it's great for them to have input because that buy-in, because it's also what they see. And listen, a lot of that self-talk, self-visionary things about how making plays, that's a big part of playing too.
And with a guy like Max Johnson, any of your quarterbacks, you talk to them as coach, but you've been there. Right? They can talk to you as a quarterback
exactly.
also, right?
I stood back there in the back things and see a lot of things that even other people don't on a quarterback. Why? I mean, you can say from the stands or even from the sideline or it's there, but then all of a sudden you realize that, Coach, that guy's hands, I could not see the depth of, being in the pocket, seeing the lanes you see through, the things you see through, the adjustments you see. But also it's bad on, well, Coach, no, you can get that ball out. I mean, that ball needs to come out. That ball needs to be here. That ball needs to be there. You need to make this check. And you're looking, that was happening because your eyes were in the wrong place when they're doing those times. There's and understanding the clock that which they got to play on. What I mean? There's a lot of things in that, and hopefully insight that you can help them with.
Yeah, that's fascinating because you have that, and then they also understand how you're talking to them, saying, "Oh yeah, I could do that," right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's always a learning curve, a knowledge curve, and then but you got to see always. Like I said, till you see something through another man's eyes, and that's why the magical thing is why. Why did you do that? Okay? If you can understand why somebody does something, you can fix it or keep enhancing and get him to repeat it. If you don't understand why they're doing it, they won't tell you or they can't tell you, that's where you get the inconsistencies because you don't know what road to take them down and how to fix the problem or keep the problem, going in a good direction.
And for fans to understand, the why doesn't come after just a play that doesn't work. You ask why when it does work.
So we can repeat it again and understand that was successful there because this happened, this happened, this happened. So when you see that again, do it again. You know what I mean? Don't get – and sometimes insight, well, we just did that twice. Did they do the same thing twice? Then do it again. If they do something different, then your mind changes. And sometimes, you can look into things too much. People do it all the time. Players do it all the time. Well, I did it 2 times in a row. I don't, they'll know it this time. No, if they're in the same spot, do the same thing. If they're in something different, then you do something different. But that's all goes back into experience, maturity, all the things we talk about. As I say, saddle time from being in there and understanding how to play. I don't care what position that is. I don't care if it's a receiver, a route. I don't care if it's a DB on a break. I don't care if it's a lineman on a block, D lineman on a stunt, whatever it is.
He's Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, taking on South Carolina on Saturday at 11 at Kyle Field. We'll have more. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie football from Learfield. Aggies Can is celebrating over 2 decades of giving back to our local community. Text Aggies Can to 83200 to support the Brazos Valley Food Bank now through November 19th. Special thanks to Brookshire Brothers, HEB, KBTX, and Whataburger for partnering with our Student Athlete Advisory Committee in support of the Brazos Valley Food Bank and the 12th Can. Again, text Aggies Can to 83200 or visit 12thman.com/Aggies Can to learn more. Continuing with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, it's presented by Capital Farm Credit. And coming off the bye week, you were asked, do you evaluate? I know you evaluate every week, but here's another opportunity to evaluate not just the 2 losses, Jimbo. You evaluate everything.
What you do from formations to kicking your formations, your defensive, your alignments, your blitz. Just making sure you're sound across the board and where you've developed tendencies. Which people say, well, you develop tendencies. That's good. That means you believe in something and you're doing something really well. Yeah. No good. I always talk about. How's a pitcher? This pitcher's only throw 2 or 3 pitches. Well, they got tendencies. They just throw them really well. I watch them in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Those guys that went in there, Mariano Rivera threw 1 pitch. He's the best reliever in the history of ball. I mean,
he would get on that mound and say, "Here's the cutter.
Here's the cutter," and hit it, and the rest is history. I mean, so as a player, you do that too. But then you change things up, and you window dress them from different formations, different personnels. You do a lot of the same things, and and it doesn't change for the kids, but it changes for the defense. You know what I mean? Or it changes for the offense how we run this blitz. We're doing from this alignment to this alignment. From this we run it out of nickel. Now we're running out of dime. Now we're running out of regular. Just different things in what you do.
What have you liked so far?
I mean, listen, I like what we're doing in the run game on defense. We're playing the run really well, playing there, getting after the quarterback, doing those things. Offensively, like I said, we're moving the ball really well in the last two games, just been the second half. I mean, it's been the second half of not executing. Had things there, we're just not executing, and we got to get better at and hit those plays at critical moments because the first half, we're driving well, we're starting games well, we're starting them fast, we unfortunately gave up that punt return. We got backed up. They hit that punt like we were trying to do in Alabama, trying to hit that one inside the 10. Because if you hold them, you're going to get with the return. It's like an 88-90% chance you get points. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing when you hold a guy inside the 10, unless the punter hits something that flips the field. Which last year, if you remember, South Carolina's guy did that.
Yes,
he hit two of them that were about 75 yards, but. You get it back, and that unfortunately that got us. But our punt return game has been good. When Nice has gotten it, we've done that. Offensively, we've spread the ball around to our different playmakers, and hopefully now we could be the first week we get all three of our receivers back. Our starting receivers will be the first time we play with all three of them since the beginning game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and getting those guys back in the mix, and we there's a lot of things we've liked, and then some things we just got to do better. We got to get that second half thing fixed. Defensively, we're doing some, not too many things. We're bending, giving up a few plays here on third and long. Occasionally, we had to get some things fixed. It's funny, you third and long that they were hitting, and not in third and, the things they never, you wouldn't think they'd ever hit. But we know that happens, and we got to clean the kicking game up. We got to kick a little bit better and be a little cleaner.
This defense, Jimbo, again, when you're going up against any team in the SEC, any team. But to see that consistently, and it's funny because I'll talk with other teams, and we'll talk over the course of the week, and I say it almost like bragging, like y'all haven't seen a defensive line like this one. You guys have played some good ones, but you haven't seen one like this. And again, that front four, that front seven triggers so much.
There's a couple of them in there. There's two or three of them in this league that are pretty close. I mean, you can flip a coin, but we're right there at the top of them. And the thing we have, I think, even more so than a lot of them, I think we have more depth.
Yeah.
I think we got guys you can rotate, which is important.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, they want to play all the time, but when you play a whole season and staying fresh, and then longevity and the different looks, and then each guy can do a little thing different. You can add little wrinkles here and there based off of their talent, and we got depth, which is a big thing.
And it hurts in a game like Tennessee. It's hard to see Albert Regis come off the field. It's hard to see Walter Nolan come off the field.
It is. I mean, but luckily you got guys that can replace and play, and that's happened. I mean, guys get frustrated with this. Your chance is going to come. When you're up front in this league, guys are going to have bumps and bruises and bangs, and you got to have depth to get through it.
Impressive, Josh DeBerry, so versatile in that secondary.
Yeah, I mean, he really did a great job. He was in at nickel, which is where he plays a lot naturally. Played at safety, did a really good job, tackled well in that game, had big interception. It was great to see him play really well in that game.
Yeah, because you hate to lose a Bryce Anderson, but that's where you talk about that depth.
Depth and moving guys around and the versatility, and some of our young corner. And then Deuce Harmon played a lot at corner, and Javon Thomas, the young guy, is going to be a really good player, and all those guys in there. And then, of course, Bryce is a playmaker all over, and he just does so much. And, there's different things he can do, too. Not only play nickel, but he can play other places.
You love that versatility by players, don't you?
You have to. That's, like I say, the game of football, basketball, even baseball, what's the guy that you got to have that one utility guy?
Yes, you do.
Guy can play shortstop, play second base, play third base, go play in the outfield. And in basketball, the game is positionless.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, you don't have a true point guard. Point guards are 6'9". You got 7-footers shooting threes. You got the other guys on the ball. I mean, the versatility and the creativity, and that's like when you get in these spread teams. Whether you're on offense or defense, taking a receiver, is he an inside receiver or is he an outside receiver? When he can do both, or is he like a Nice? You can put him in the backfield. You can hide him. You know what I'm saying? And then on defense, I got to have people to match those people.
Right.
Because, okay, if he's in the backfield now, does my linebacker cover that receiver? And that becomes a mismatch. Or if he's out wide, I can't have the linebacker. All right, if he's a running back and splits out, I can't put the linebacker out there. I got to make sure it's a DB. So, I mean, the ability for guys to be a safety, they say, was he a strong safety or free safety? He's a safety or a nickel. And some of them guys are corners and safeties. You got to have, because the way the game gets spread, they can force you to play the skill set of another position, even though you're not in that exact position. And so the versatility of players today in the game is is more valued like linebackers. They can rush and play the run, or they pass. I mean, that value to those guys. And when they can do those multiplicity things, their value goes through the roof.
Does it help them in the mental side of the game, too, to understand another position and what their teammates going through?
Well, and if you understand what that guy's doing, when you're at this position, I always say this, where my help is, what the weakness of the defense is, what that is. When I understand what my partner's doing, and when that happens, that's really a stress point at that position. When I played there, that made it tough. So I can make up where I'm not stressed. Maybe is here. I can help on that situation. Mm-hmm. Once they get, that comes with experience.
Yeah.
And then first they got to learn what they do at one position. Then they got to learn what they got to do at two positions. Then they got to understand the big picture. And unfortunately, in pro ball, you get to stay there 8 or 10 years. And in college ball, they want to be 3 and done. So the time they figure it out. And I say that. I think that's a big issue with consistency sometimes in how you play, is that guys don't stay in college very long. Why is Anais playing so well? Why is Layden playing so well? Why is McKinley playing so well? Why is Damani playing so well? Mm-hmm. They're in the 4th and 5th years, so all those things I talk about, they understand, and now they can take it to the field. These guys, even though you're a great, you see a lot of guys who say, well, I can't believe he got drafted. Well, he can play well, and then they still draft you on a lot of potential, on athleticism and athletic ability. It takes time to become a really good football player. And we're not giving the time in college football anymore because guys want a 3 and done. And the longer they stay, the better. Because the object ain't to get to the league, it's stay in the league.
Right. And
if you a little bit of experience can make you stay there a lot longer.
Tons of guys have been drafted.
Yes.
But as you always say, there's a lot of talent on couches on Sundays.
Exactly right.
Yeah. What's your line? You get drafted on potential, you stay on performance.
Exactly right.
Right? Yeah.
Potential gets you drafted, performance will keep you there. And if you can put both of them together, then you can be a first rounder.
Absolutely. He's Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. Aggies in South Carolina on Saturday at 11. We'll continue from Rudys. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. And this is Aggie football from Learfield. Howdy, Ags. Andrew Monaco here, inviting you all to visit Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill. Baja-style Mexican, made from scratch daily, serving breakfast tacos, lunch, and dinner. Aggie owned and operated by our friend Holly in South College Station. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit with Jimbo Fisher. Love the phrase that you said on Monday, just what you were talking about with Evan and Anais, Noah, as well as Jade and Moose and the rest of those wide receivers. A full go. It's odd. Looking back, Jimbo, we haven't had them.
No, and I can say people don't realize how often, it's not luck or health, just being able to be healthy. You keep your fingers crossed and guys can play or they play through something, don't play, whatever it is. And, that doesn't happen very often.
No, and Noah made 3 fantastic catches.
Yeah, he did. It's great to get him back, and now he's got full-time practice. And it's such a – his size and his speed and his athleticism, and it creates mismatches.
Which is what you're going to need as I peek a little bit at South Carolina. They're tall in the secondary.
They are. They're
South
long.
Carolina.
They're long. They really are long.
They're not 6'6", though.
No, they're not
like
6'6", but they have a lot of length, 6'2", 6'3", 6'1". Big bodies, heavy bodies, and can run and play and hit you.
What's really so much fun about these receivers is, we talk 50-50 ball. I think with those 3,
we're winning a lot more of them now.
It's like 60-40, 70-30.
They are. They're getting it, and we're getting the ball in the right place, and they're making those catches.
It's hard to teach that, isn't it, though, Jimbo?
It is. And listen, you either have the ball skills, and then you learn and the physicality, but also ball judgment. And then can you beat the guy to the spot? And get your body in. It's like a rebound.
Yeah.
There's an art to when the ball goes up, where's it coming off the rim? Mm-hmm. That was what Rodman could do so well. He could judge it. It was going right. It was going left. All your great rebounders, and they could get their bodies in position to box out to that spot. And it's ball judgment, ball vision, size, and then you see, because they would say, well, he's a big guy, but sometimes if they don't judge the ball, you can't get your body in position to make a play. It's like an outfielder on a fly ball. Mm-hmm. If you can't judge a ball, you can run all day out there, but if you can't judge the ball, you still, you see DBs do that a lot of times. They're in coverage. They're in phase. They're right with guys, and guys always make the catch on them. They can't see it. They can't judge it. They can't, you know what I mean? And these guys do a really good job.
Those are the things that you're looking at with the guys you're recruiting?
Oh, you have to, man. Listen, the ball skills and the ball judgment and those things. And a lot of times that's where the multiplicity of guys that play basketball, baseball, and all those things. When you're playing a lot of ball, I call ball sport. Now, track guys, you have speed and size, but you still got to find out what kind of ball skills they have. Mm-hmm. To be able to judge it and use the ability. Just because they can run fast, but when those guys are really basketball, baseball, And, you know, those guys, the ball judgment is always there because everything's about the ball. Yeah. And you're touching it.
There's a toughness to all those receivers as well, Jimbo. I mean, Anais over the middle is as tough as –
Well, he is, and he'll go block you. He's a running back. I mean, you go back to his film, and you see him in the backfield. He is a linebacker just like, I mean, a 230-pound back there. There's no difference. He thinks he's a linebacker. 3 is a very physical guy. 1's become more physical. 9 is a big body that can become physical.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you what, you don't realize when you have receivers that are physical, that really aids you. You talk about your running game, but your receiver, your screen game. The ability to throw screens out there and get bodies on people with it and block and do all those things and it becomes part of your run game. All that's a big factor.
Because one missed block becomes that play that you didn't make in a game.
Exactly right. And then, or make a block and get 5 yards. Okay, if I can throw it out there and make one block and make 5 yards, I got to make 6 inside. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that screen game makes a big difference. And then they got to get your guys on the ground. And then if they got to play that and respect that, then it opens up runs inside. Yeah. I mean, the ability – and those screening, they said, why do you keep throwing those and making 4 yards? But it's what it does to the defense, the stretch and the things that goes on and how it plays.
And then you add your running backs who can all catch.
Yeah, that's the versatility of today's game. Yeah. Used to have if you went back in the day, in the old SEC in the 70s, 80s, even 90s when I was first in it and even at LA, the guys caught the ball was good, but everybody's tailback, if you weren't 210 pounds, you were never a factor in the game.
Right.
You were 210 to 240, 245, and you could fly. And you were a downhill, hand it to you, and they would tote it 25 to 30, 35 times a game, and them safeties would hit you, and then about third, fourth quarter, they become bullfighters. You know what I mean? They were getting out of the way. I mean, it was a different brand, you know, and there's what guys that could catch it, but it wasn't like it is today to have to be as well-rounded a back as you are today. Yeah. You can still have to do those things then, that's great. And then when you can get a big guy that can catch it and do those kind of things like some of our young guys can do and some of our guys on our team, then when you got nickel and dime people in the game, it's harder to get them on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that's, as you talk about, the accumulation of that throughout the game.
You know, it's like a boxing match. I mean, the wear and tear. You know, keep giving those body shots. Eventually, it breaks down, and you know the body breaks down. And those 2-yard, 4-yard gains, all of a sudden, it becomes 6 and 8. And then you break a tackle, and it's 12 or 15. And you know that's the object of putting your will upon the other guy. That's the other thing about football. Football's a game of putting your will upon him.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the end of the day.
I mean, we're playing South Carolina, and the first back that I thought was George Rogers did that.
Oh, Lord. Man,
he made a lot of guys into bullfighters, didn't he?
Yeah, they did, man. And I remember they had a guy named Deuce Staley when I was coaching against him. They always had some backs, man. They've always had some guys that were really, really good players. And they're now big, strong guys now.
Yeah, they do. We'll talk more about South Carolina as we continue on the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Barker's Heating and Cooling, proud to be the official heating and cooling provider for Texas A&M Athletics, earning your seal of approval since 1974. A lot's changed since then, but our pride in Aggie football and our commitment to providing great service remains as strong as ever. Barker says, "Gig 'em, Aggies. You ever wonder if Jimbo is competitive? He was just telling me a story during the break. You're still mad at Big for 13.
Well, we had the state championship in baseball, yep. Babe Ruth, and let it slip away. We got beat twice in the final.
You threw a one-hitter and a two-hitter.
Yeah. Yep, threw a two-hitter and got beat 1. And threw a one-hitter and beat them 2-0. Threw a two-hitter and got beat 1-0. They threw a one-hitter or no-hitter. I can't remember what they threw. And then we neither of us had pitching. We both lost. And then the second game was like 9-6, 8-5 in the finals. You know, but you know you can't. It is what it is. But you remember those things.
Yeah.
I said it's like getting swept. You know, go home like the Astros and the Phillies did. They got beat 2 at home, and we had 2 games. You know, we just had to win 1.
Yeah.
I know what it feels like.
Sports, baby.
We won it when I was 14 and 15, but when I was 13, we lost that state championship.
That one's the one that stays with you, right?
Exactly right. It's always the one.
Question time. Secondary's been no, Philip. I'm waiting for that one because I'll get that more towards. It's a great question. More towards South Carolina. Why not get 2 300-pound linemen and use them as running backs when it's 4th and 1?
Can they hold the ball? You know, sometimes we've used a lot of running backs in the line in the backfield before. If you have the right guys, we've done that multiple times at different places I've been. And if the right guys are there to do it, you can do it. If they have the ball skills to do it and push, and that's like everybody says, why don't everybody do the tush push like the
Eagles?
Well, the first thing you got to remember, the play is great, but the people doing it are really good. That's the best offensive line in football. Right. And you got you probably made the best center in football. Mm-hmm. So the snap and believe it or not, the execution of the quarterback and getting that snap and that center creating the push, and then guards. And they have two excellent guards, and they're really good at it. And we, if you remember in 2020, we were a great sneak team.
Yes.
We were a really good sneak team in 2020. Mm-hmm. That was our deal. And it goes personnel, and we do it. We're going to do it, and we'll continue to do it. We'll work on those things. But, just different philosophies. And certain people have different skill sets. Like certain receivers, some years every receiver is a post-takeoff guy. Some guys are quick change of direction guys, and you got to have linemen that have ball skills, or that understand how to push that, and trust me, I've done it before. So. Yeah,
Bobby Brown always wanted that ball. He always wanted that handoff, didn't he?
Yep.
He would always. It almost became like a little bit of a running joke because
he had skills though, and Bobby also had the girth. You say 300 pounds, but then there's 300-pound people that move people.
Yeah.
Like you go back and watch when Fridge Perry did that when it used to be big, and people forget Guy McIntyre did it first.
That's right.
Guy McIntyre with the 49ers did it before the Bears did it.
Yeah.
But guys that sometimes explosive athletic guys that can create a lot of quickness and power and initiative that can create movement and not be sluggish and slow backs down in the backfield too. So your personnel of who you're doing it with matters.
Yeah. It's always fun though to watch you bring in Demetrius and overload that one side, and then you got Max
try to create an extra gap or make them define.
Yeah.
That's part of it too.
Yeah, there's so many things,
intricacies of how you do it and why you do it.
And I wanted to bring up, like I get you want to be better at 3rd and 1. The good news is you're getting to 3rd and 1. That means you're successful first and second.
Exactly right. And people don't understand. Short yardage is tough, and it becomes an attitude thing. I lost a game one time because we tried to sneak one time with a 6'5", 6'6" quarterback on the goal line. And it's hard for them to get under. And what happens when you sneak, a center will drop his butt sometimes because he's got to get slow to get under the guy in front of him. And when he did at 6'6", and the center was 6'1", bent the quarterback's hand back, lost a fumble. I mean, so there's a different ways, different personnel teams that do it really well and some that don't. When
you do convert those, by executing, Jimbo, does that lead to confidence?
Oh, yeah, anything does. Confidence, that's what execution comes from. I mean, it's doing ordinary things at a very high level consistently. But playing well comes from trust and confidence. Mm-hmm. That allows you to play fast and play free in your mind and allows you to execute and allows you to play the game the way it's supposed to be played.
Will you share what Bruce Bochy told the Rangers? It chuckled what Bruce Bochy, his message to the Rangers about the inch.
Oh, yeah. No. Well, yeah. No. He was talking about it wasn't the inch. It was a Mariners guy.
Oh, okay.
See, I always say fight for the inches, and his thing, their thing is it's about the inch. I mean, and what it means is plays are the difference in successful plays or successful. Like I say, do I hit it in the sweet spot of the bat? Do I hit it in the tip of the bat? Do I hit it in the handle? Is the ball going out of the park? Is the ball on the black of the play? Is that a strike, or is it? Is it a hair off? It's a ball. The inch. I mean, people don't realize. We always say fight for the inches. You got to have the inches that create, because plays are the big plays. Man, I snibbed it. I just touched the ball. I had the guy by my fingertips, or I got him by the tip of his shirt and I got him down. You're fighting for the inch of every play, and there's usually 2 to 3 or 4 plays in a game that dictate the outcome of a game.
Right.
And it's about constantly grinding for that inch, and that's what their motto was. It's about the inch.
Yeah.
And they said you got to love, trust, and believe in the guys in the locker room, and that's the reasons for success. No matter what you're doing, is no different. Whatever sport it is. And it was interesting to hear him say that, because we say a lot of those same things.
Yeah. Now, I'm saying this very sarcastically. You mean there's no magic formula that you've forgotten to use to do all that?
No, there isn't. And I mean, and you adjust and you see, and you got to get guys to do it. And it's, can you strain and do it over and over and over and don't get bored? Yeah. I know that sounds crazy, and not take it for granted, and understand that guy's level of play, when you're beating him, all right, it's going to rise, then you got to rise. And they always say, there's an old adage we always tell our kids, whatever happens, go higher. You know what I mean? Whatever happens, they tell you got to do, just take it another notch. Take it another notch. Because if he does, you can.
Yeah.
And it's it's a mindset and a personality check.
When you're no longer saying it, but your players are saying it.
Yeah, and they know it and they see it, and your leadership reinforces it, and they got to say it in the huddle. I mean, I remember going in the national championship drive in 2013. We had a 2-minute drive, and Jameis walked in and said, "Hey, you strong?" They said, "We're strong if you're strong." That's something we said that time. You know what I mean? In other words, hey, no matter what goes on, we're together, and right here it was. They went down the field, scored an out. And those cliches and whatever a team says, people say, that's dumb. It's not dumb to them.
Right.
It's like you have family traditions, right? People say, well, that's it. You don't want to tell nobody. Well, everybody thinks it's dumb. Well, it's not dumb to your family. It's because it's what you grew up doing. You know what I'm saying? But it united you. It pulled you together. It's what unified you. You know what I mean? And you'll hear so many things on teams that say things, or they'll do some kind of dance. And they'll say, wow, they doing that. Well, it doesn't matter. It unifies groups.
Right.
It pulls them together, and that's what what that whole thing is, that we're in this together. No matter what we got to do, we're going to do it.
We'll turn our attention to South Carolina, the opponent for Texas A&M, when we return to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We'll return to Rudys. This is Aggie football from Learfield. Rudys is a proud sponsor of Aggie football. Be sure to stop by your local Rudys or Rudys.com for some real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, Rudys signature sauce. From Kensington, Kansas to Melbourne, Australia, we see you, Effie. Thanks for checking in. Belton, Lucas, Georgetown, Wildwood, Missouri. That's Michael, and he actually typed Missouri. Corpus, Flatonia, and Vicky and Choya.
Yep, I was going to say, make sure we say our friends Vicky and Choya. And miss y'all and love y'all and hope y'all are having a great evening.
Yeah, it's like now we can do the show, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
I love that they are in every single week. Everyone joining us as well on Facebook, all along our network as well. We turn the attention to South Carolina, and Philip has the question. Happy birthday, Philip, by the way. Sir. Happy birthday. Good to see you. That also means his homework's done, right?
Exactly.
Okay. If you were up, here you go. How you going to cover South Carolina wide receiver Xavier Legette?
Well, a lot of different ways. You can't leave him isolated. You got to get help underneath, help over the top at different times. You got to give him different looks. Completely double. And don't move him around, but you got to know where he's at because he's probably a first round guy.
Yeah,
he's going to be 6'3" or 4", 227 pounds, and can fly and run. And he's a heck of a player. And we got to have a plan to the multiplicity of places they put him and have different looks. You can't just do it one way, but you got to mix it up. And the best way is get to the quarterback. The other way is get to the quarterback. When you cover him, make the ball have to come out and hopefully get some pressure if we can. But like I say, Spencer he's an experienced guy too, and he got great feet, gets the ball out, quick hands. He's going to be an NFL guy too. So he's
as good in this conference as anybody.
Oh, he's no doubt. Now he can throw it, he can run, he's experienced, he's tough, intelligent. He's got it all.
Yeah.
Those guys, it's a really good group.
He gets it out quick. I was talking with their guy. He said first half percentage, he's completing 86%.
Yeah.
He got on a roll for sure. But again, you talk about it. He's got that saddle time.
He does. He's been around a long time. Knows it and makes a difference.
Now, affecting the quarterback doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a sack. Correct?
No. You can reset his feet, make him flush, or get a hit on him, even if it's not a sack. Get a legal hit on him. Make him hold coverage, mix different coverages, and the mental game and the physical game. Yeah. You got to affect him in all ways, and you got to pressure him. You can't just let him get comfortable and get their feet set. Especially a guy of his caliber, it's going to be a long day.
I did like what you said in your office today, though. But when you do get a chance to hit him, you got
to hit him. You got to do it legally. It's
right.
About affecting the quarterback.
Yeah.
And the way the game's played now, that the game goes through them so immensely that it's even more so than ever.
And change that timing.
You got to change the timing, and then for routes, and how they are, they got to get it out quicker, or maybe if they're a quick game, you can cover better. It's just it's a constant chess game.
Yeah, they got a running back who's had a nice season. He's
from 5 yards. Yeah, Newberry.
5 yards a carry. I don't care what conference
in this league, and he's carried it a bunch, and he can go.
Yeah. Which is it's always kind of been like. I know it's a new coach, but kind of the same identity for South Carolina, right? Long in the secondary, a defense that's going to come after you, balance on that offense.
Well, that state has always produced players. It's always produced players, and they're right there by Georgia, right by Tennessee, North Carolina, and they get to Florida. So and they go around the country, but they're in a great recruiting base.
Yeah, and
they're always going to have football players.
You've always recruited in that area.
You have to. There's great players in there, so they're always going to get their share.
Yeah, absolutely. It is.
Shane's doing a good job with them.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a guy he's earned this. I know it's his second year, but it wasn't just, okay, I'm Frank Beamer's son, you get a job.
No, it was third year. His first year, he built him up, and then last year he had a great year, and then they've struggled a little bit this year at times, but they're still a very good team and lost some heartburn, lost some very tough games.
Really hard to look at the record. Fans will say, well, they can't be.
Well, they beat Georgia 14-3. They had Florida down with 5 minutes to go. They're up 10. They got a good football team.
There's even more balance in this conference. For a while, Jimbo, it was all in the West. That East is now also better.
It all goes back. If you ever go look at the history of this league, when I first got in the league, Alabama, I was back in '93. Alabama had won the national championship, but it was Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee on the other side that had the most consistent teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
LSU wasn't going to the playoffs in. Auburn was we were coming into Auburn, and we went in and won 20 in a row.
Right.
And we won the first 20 games. Then, the other team, Mississippi State, and all of a sudden it swung back to the West.
Mm-hmm.
They got good, real good, and the East stayed good, and then it goes back. I mean, then when I went to LSU, I was at LSU, it kind of swung to the West a little bit. Then, Florida was doing real. Florida and Tennessee were really good, and then it swung back to that's when it stung to the West and stayed. I mean, it goes back and forth. There's too many good programs.
That's the thing, and there's so much talent, right?
Yep.
You always say, if you can play, we'll find you.
Exactly right, and everybody in this league can play.
Absolutely. One final segment of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. When we return to Rudys, this is Aggie Football from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to provide a trip for 12 to the Ole Miss game. That's on November 4th. To register for the 12th Fan trip, visit 12thman.com/12thfan. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, proud corporate partner of Texas A&M Athletics. James Anthony has checked in from Thailand.
Wow.
He comes every week. He joins us, and he stays up listening to Andrew call the game every week. So James is my new favorite.
That's awesome.
Thank you,
Welcome,
James.
Great to have you, buddy.
That is fantastic. Jimbo, what are the keys on Saturday that you want to see from this team?
Well, I want to get a good fast start again. On defense, we got to control the quarterback, keep him in the pocket. We got to know where Leggett is, and minimize our running game. Special teams, they've always been known for special teams. They'll have a trick up their sleeve that we got to be able to be ready for. In the return game, we can't have those things, and we got to create that. Now, offensively, we got to win the line of scrimmage. We got to be able to have balance, be able to run the football, and then get the ball to our playmakers in the run game and the pass game, and keep Max with a pocket that's clean, and then execute, and then play well from the beginning all the way through, get better all the way through, and play a complete football game. That's what we got to do.
It's really exciting that you've got those playmakers. Get the ball in the hands of those playmakers.
Yep. And we got to do it consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. We talk about all the skill guys, and we talk about this and that and this and that. And you said a long time ago, guys with the hands in the dirt.
On offense, defensive line, that's the key to everything.
Nothing changes,
nothing.
Right?
The game, the reasons for you winning will never change.
Yeah.
Reasons for success don't change.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. Different styles, different things, but at the end of the day, it's what it gets down to.
You were asked on Monday about the play of Edgerrin Cooper, and you were very obviously you love where Edge is now and what he's done, but you were also very quick to point out that front and that four in front of him helps him, but he's also matured again.
He's matured. The game slowed down in his eyes. He sees it, and now he trusts what he sees, and he triggers and he plays fast, and then the athleticism showing. He's always had it. The trust again. He trusts what's in front of him. He's trusting himself with his eyes and what he sees, and he's triggering, reacting, and he's athletic as heck and can get guys on the ground. That's a fact.
It's fun if you get an opportunity, just watch 45 and you'll be entertained because.
And sometimes you ain't watching him, you'll just see him, just there'll be a flash across there. I mean, the athletic, and then Torian's doing a great job in there too.
Yeah,
they've been a great comment. Chris Russell's playing good football.
I was just going to say.
Chris Russell's playing really good football too.
I thought he had a terrific second half.
He did a tremendous half.
A couple of guys, Jimbo, who could have left, right?
Oh, yeah.
Edge and
guys
Chris.
that stayed in and playing and they're being huge contributors to our success.
I don't know if I told you this, but it was after last season, and Chris could not get into the Bright Slocum complex, and I had to open the door for him, and he said, "Will you tell Jimbo that I'm not transferring?"
That's
it sounds like Chris, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
But that entire linebacking crew, and as you said, guys like Durante,
they've really come on, man. They've done a great job.
Yeah, and it's nice to have that kind of depth.
David Sanford, he's going to be a really good player too.
I like what you said.
And so isn't Chance Johnson.
Chance Johnson. You said, I love when you say he can run. That's different from just being able to run.
You guys
when you can run.
And that's what your great ones can do because, I mean, there's levels you can see, but the backers eventually going to get themselves in trouble in a bad play, and then they make up with athleticism and speed. Yeah. That's what the great ones do.
Absolutely. Jimbo beat the hell out of South Carolina.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, the Aggies and the South Carolina Gamecocks on Saturday. We will start our broadcast all along the Texas A&M Sports Network, and that will be at 10 o'clock with our St. Joseph Health pregame show. 11 o'clock will be the kick between the Aggies and the South Carolina Gamecocks at Kyle Field. Kevin Menchow is our engineer here at Rudys. Ryan Bexton is the producer of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit in our Learfield studios. I'm Andrew Monaco for the head coach of Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher. Thanks and gig 'em. You've been listening to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit, and this is Aggie Football from Learfield.